Hello and welcome to another tutorial on animation. Well, this is the overall graphical interface of Photoshop, and apparently we're going to try to make an animation on the bounce cycle. So normally when we open up Photoshop, we should prefer to open up a file on the resolution of film and video, and these are the settings that we should choose. 1920 by 1080 is the optimal setting. 72 dpi. Should close the first file. So let's say that we select the pen tool and select path sub option from the pen tool. Here we selected the paths sub option tool, and now we're going to click and draw. Here I created a marker or a scale marker, ruler marker. I'm going to click and drag. Oops, sorry, I kept on pressing. Click and drag and press the shift key after you drag, and then press the alt key to delete the last tangent. And you can see there are two tangents drawn. We can move the tangents left or right using the cursor keys. Press the alt key and this gets deleted. Then I'm created another arc and clicked and moved to the cursor the arc on the right side. I'm going to now select and move all the points using the path selection tool. There are two options, the path selection tool and the tool that moves the point selection tool. So shortcut is A, and if you press shift A, it keeps changing from path selection tool to point selection tool. So I'm just creating all the other rest of the arcs. Click and click again, move to the right with the cursor keys, and then I'm going to click another tiny little arc and change the positioning slightly. I can also change the tangents, and here we have an arc. Now if you select this using the path selection tool, which shortcut is A, you can see that a work path is created in the path tab group, and path tab group is visible in the layers group. And then I created a new layer in the layer option subgroup, and maybe I can lock the background layer so that, and then I create this path tool using, and then I lock the layer in which I created the path tool so that I have ease of working. So now there are 2-3 ways with which you can draw shapes. You can just go again to the path tool and start creating multiple duplicate copies of spherical shapes and align them along the arc. Notice that as soon as the ball falls, the distancing increases, and as soon as it hits the floor, the distance decreases drastically. So this is one way you can create paths, but I think I'm going to go for another option. I'm just going to create another rectangular marquee shape. Select the first layer, layer number 2, and fill it with the circular marquee color of blue. And then I'm going to duplicate this using the alt key, alt click duplicate, alt click drag duplicate. So it creates an extra layer as soon as you move, release the mouse key. And you can follow this process a bunch of times, and it creates duplicate layers. You can move the previous layers, and it creates them in a sequence, like one above the other, and so on. So I can now work on the squash effect on this layer. Then I can duplicate the previous layer onto the right side and make sure that you follow the flow of the arc, and maybe bring this layer up above one in the stack or the queue, and keep on moving these layers slightly above one another. Maybe the distancing decreases as you go up, and then it increases again when you bring it into the second arc following the first arc, and then it sort of like squishes. So you can try and test the distancing as you go, and maybe this distancing is now looking alright. Move this layer down, a couple of layers down. Okay, so this distancing looks pretty alright. Okay, now it looks alright. So here you go, and then squish this slightly, duplicate onto the left side, and you keep following this process on and on, so on and so forth, and move this ball upward slightly. I've got to add some more squish, squish, I don't know, the same thing. Okay, so moving on, the fourth arc, the distancing gets slightly reduced as soon as you move up the arc, and then when you move down the arc, the distancing increases, because this indicates, the distancing actually indicates the gravity, the effects of gravity on the ball. And when the ball hits the floor, it actually distinguishes the elasticity of the ball, so it comes to under the squash and stretch. So a lot of physics is involved, and I think not a lot of physics, a little bit of physics, and you have to understand what gravity is. You have to understand the elasticity of certain objects. Like if you throw gelatin, the squashing effect will be more severe, it will be more powerful. Maybe the bounce will be less, maybe maybe there is no bounce, and the gelatin shape actually breaks and scatters into different objects, different sub-objects. So it depends on the shape of the object, what kind of what type of effect can be created. So now I'm just duplicating shapes and making sure the stacking of the shapes remains the same. So let's see, maybe move the ball slightly, and it's still squash a little bit. Move it upwards into the stack, and then create another duplicate, move it around. So now the ball is on the floor. The bounce, the force with which it is supposed to go back upwards into the air is almost near to zero, so the ball actually rolls onto the screen. So now you can see the arc seems a bit off, so I'm now going to draw the arc with the brush tool so that I can fix this up, and I'm going to group all the ball layers and move them down a bit so that I can see the arc layer. I choose the red brush tool, and I just fix this arc using the brush tool. It doesn't have to be accurate, but it has to be as close as possible. And then I create the line. There's the previous line where the errors were created, and here you go. Move this layer down, the group 1 layers, and here is your ball animation. Now I'm going to use the animation tab to add these into the right order and create a small little animation in Photoshop. So Seems like there's one layer turned off. So I've turned off all the layers except for the first layer, the first ball layer, and I am going to the first frame. I've created a shortcut, so whenever I click on that shortcut key, it's a customized shortcut key. It creates a new frame in the animation stack, and I set the animation to 0.1 second each frame, and then I slowly and gradually create one layer, create another frame maybe, and so on and so forth. So I turn off one frame, I turn on the other one, and oops, it doesn't seem to look like the layers were turning on. Let's check it again a couple of times. Go back and forth in your frames, see if the looks fine. Okay, so let's go back to the frames, turning one frame on, one off, one on, one off, the next one in the stack, turning those frames on and turning those frames off in the next stack, so that the animation looks smooth. And this is typically how you can create a rough idea of the animation, or how the animation will look in Photoshop. This is a much easier way to do it rather than doing it in Flash, in my opinion. I think I have also worked in Flash, and the Flash graphical interface, it's a bit tricky because you have like symbols in it, and when you have symbols in Flash, those symbols can be a bit tricky because there are nested symbols, nested shapes in symbols, and there are 3 different types of symbols. So it really becomes sometimes confusing that you can't create one type of symbol and the other type of symbol, and you can't create 2 different types of symbols and other types of symbols. So now I'm going to fix some bugs I'm looking at, and seems like the bugs are pretty fine. Or am I missing something? Oops, the placement is a bit off. There was a stack order issue. Let me just fix these 2 layers, bring them down so that they are in the proper place. Looks like now they're in the right place. Okay, so from frame number 23 to 24, I guess I'm going to fix these bugs that were in the stacking order. Also, make sure when you're actually animating in Photoshop, your stacking order is properly managed, so that when you're doing the animation frame by frame, your stacking number does not change, or the animation doesn't look irregular. So let's see, going back to certain frames, I think I'm going to delete some frames. No, I think, yep, okay. So moving back here, and frame number 31, so I'm going to turn on some more frames, going at it in the same way, going on and on and on and on, creating new frames, adding old frames. So here, when you play the animation, it might look a bit sketchy or choppy, but that's because the video rendering is done in +1.5 times faster. So let's make it frame rate 2. So we are now animating in 2. So like after every 2 frames we have 1 frame. Let's check it in frame animation in ones. Let's play it, and maybe bring the animation to no delays at the bounce, at the part of the bounce. Also we have another bounce around in 17 and 16, 17 and 18, 17, 16, 17, 18 and 19. So change it to 0 seconds. 0 seconds actually does not mean 0 seconds. Like it takes animation in the right instant, like immediately in the 0th second, something like 0.01, 0.05 maybe seconds. So if you have 3 frames, it will divide it into 0.35 something seconds each. and maybe on the last frames take it to 0.5 seconds and a minute, so that the ball stays there in frame for a while before the video actually stops. Go to files, export or create a new layer, maybe create a folder first, and then save the file as animation bounce cycle 01. Export, render video, set file name to the path in which you created the folder, and everything looks okay, I guess. QuickTime movie, create folder, create a subfolder. Do I have to create it? I don't think so. And click render. Give it a few seconds. I'm going to pause the video for a while. Maybe go to my desktop folder, and let's see the folder in which I created the video. Where is it? Here we go. So the video is created. Let's play the video, and the bounce cycle looks superb. Okay, so let's change the name of the file. Maybe close this video and change the file 01. I forgot to add a space, animation cycle. Okay, so just compress the video, bring it out into 1080p, render it, and now I'm going to show you the final result. I'm going to play the video file that I created in the bounce cycle a couple of times, so you can see the difference in animation and how it looks like. So here's just a couple of times the ball bounce animation. That's it, but that's it for the video. Let me now show you. So here you go, it's following the arch, and the ball bounce looks really smooth. The timing is not perfect, but okay. It's nothing like calling it acceptable. So okay, take care, bye.